We've got two absences. Celine phoned me and let me know that she's in Yellowknife. She had said that she would try to call in, so we set up something here. Maybe she still will. If she does in the next little bit, we'll add her in this mic and speaker system and cell phone. AJ's still out of town as well, so we'll go with everybody that we have. So yeah, I'll call the meeting to order, and are there any agenda additions or changes that anybody?
Speed limit is a possibility, or even to reduce the speed limit for all of downtown Q3. So I bring up the CA meetings. I just like bring it to the council to see what everybody wants to do.
Okay. Why don't we call that a Antoine Drive speeding issue? And that'll go under 7A. Anybody else? I would like to add one issue. Tetzel Trail, chip sealing. I have some information to report back after a discussion with Dustin Dewitt, manager of highway operations for GNWT. I'd like to report to you some of the. All right, so if that's it, then can I get over in a second there to approve the agenda as amended? Can I get a mover, Councilor Hassan, seconder, Councilor Bellefontaine? Oh, and I should say that we do have one in-camera item, and that has to do with a land issue. A land issue. Basically, the deal under land issue. Okay. All right, so mover Hassan, seconder Bellefontaine, motion to approve agenda as amended. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. All right. Any declarations of interest in any of the items tonight? Okay, as I mentioned before, with councilor absences, we have two. We don't really make a motion to excuse them on committee of the whole, but they did let us know they will be here and the reasons why. There are no delegations, so we'll get right on to the two discussion matters. And first, brought up by Councilor Bellefontaine, Antoine Drive. Would you like to carry on with that?
Yeah, well, I was just all seem to agree. So the folks.
One second there, Councilor Bellefontaine. Councilor Hassan, could you turn that off, maybe? Because I don't think we need it, eh? Okay.
People speeding and they just wanted to have it dealt with. So they tagged a few councillors in the post. It says apparently 30 kilometers posting on Antoine Drive from the Kids Park, Elephant Park, 7 Airways is new. It's a new high speed zone. Village needs to enforce the rules of the road for the quads and motorcycles during evenings before someone gets hurt. Motorcycle quad speeders are going by so fast and my front window is blurred. We need mobile speed bumps placed every 50 meters. This will stop vehicles and speeders during the day as well. I called the RCMP as other families on the street over the last couple of days, but it's just too dangerous for the kids playing and reckless drivers. All of Antoine Drive is 30 kilometers from the golf course to Mackenzie Drive. It is something we can do if we damage the roads. I know people have concerns with if we're grading roads, if we damage the speed bumps. I know I saw this in the Yellowknife camera. Speed bump, it gets full. I've heard that they can be taken up, but again, I'm not an expert on this, so I thought I'd bring it forward and we'll see what everybody thinks. So, I don't know if anybody has any other information to discuss.
Sorry, I thought that might have.
Yeah, so that's basically, I just want to bring it forward and see, maybe it's something that was discussed in the running late, probably hiding this late, by slowing down a little bit. I don't know, maybe the RCP can just start to make a priority just for the next little while. I'm not sure the best way to do it.
I want to make some news on that street, and it's more the quads and motorcycles. Like the young kids that, and they things that are speeding up and down those roads.
Right.
So,
Maybe, and we don't really have a regular bylaw person right now. So maybe we could take a look at, asking the RCMP to a little more. Do we have a bylaw as well on, skidoos? We do ATV, we have an ATV bylaw.
I know there's a policy, but I'm not very sure if I have to look into it.
Because I think we do have something in regards to snowmobiles, but I don't know if we have anything in regards to four-wheelers. That's MUT legislation, but we could look at doing something for four-wheelers municipally. I know one RCMP brought that up to me and said, why doesn't the municipal government take charge of, the rules surrounding the use of four-wheelers in the village? We could look at. In the meantime, we could advise if there's concerns, just to try to give up some warnings to the younger people who are speeding and see if that works for starters. There are roads in Simpson, I think, in areas where the speed limit probably could be turned back to 30. There, so, it's more of it's people's behavior than the speed limit itself. You can tell people all you want. But another area that I was advised is a bit of a problem is right around where all those fourplexes are. As you come around that corner, somebody's got a parking, like they try to pull out there, and it's basically a blind corner coming both ways almost, right? And people are zooming around that corner too.
Maybe we could work on better signage, just bigger signs that are at least, on the main areas where people are doing these things. I know also where they cross before the causeway, sometimes people come up that hill and then all of a sudden they're just there on the road. So it could be another place to the signage to just make people aware and get the word out there.
even, limit after a certain hour, you get a mile after on the clock, there's no shouldn't be no noise, or you should sleep.
Yeah.
We have signage, so, but, have, areas for motorbikes and quads and all that. Something. Because-
Right.
Yeah, because even up in Wild Rose, like, when I go to bed, like, I can hear them running up and down the highway.
Right.
I see all those tire marks and I'm not gonna be driving by Titzel Show. It's where I live, just in the bed. People fly up. It's not only in town, it's a problem.
And probably a lot of them don't have driver's licenses because they're too young.
Yeah, there's young kids on those little two-wheelers, like, let's go. That's what really see.
Other place where they really speed Dolly and Ernest were saying, you know, they live up there and where Nicole lives, and that's why she's putting a fence up with some kids in there.
Right.
If they come around that corner, they're just speeding.
Yeah, maybe this is something we could talk to the RCMP about a little and see if there's things we can do on signage, maybe formalizing some regulations in a ATV bylaw, you know, educating through whatever means we have. But we can certainly bring that issue up with the RCMP. Yes, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you, Mayor Juan. In fact, what's being written on Facebook, it's about vehicles, mainly speeding about vehicles. And we don't have signs on that street, do we? I don't think we have signs. I think we should get signs, and in the whole town here, in the whole island, I believe the speed limit should be like 30 or 35. I don't remember what the limit was. We should get signs first. Then people get to know the sign, and that will definitely help. And we can share this with the RCMP. If we have a sign say, okay, and the RCMP pull someone over, and they can give them a fine for that until we get our bylaw officer, or until we don't know when that's going to happen. But right now we have to do something. We have to get the signs, put the signs in place. I believe the idea of having the bumps, it doesn't work. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I can't talk about it. But we should do something. Let's start with the sign, and let's start with coordinating the RCMP, and it's our own responsibility. It's not only the RCMP, everyone's responsibility. If you see someone speeding on wherever, that will help. And in addition to that, the idea of having the stop sign, traffic light here in the school zone, this will also give the community members who are speeding, or when people are driving, they will remember that, oh, you know, there is a sign, the village, the municipality right now, they start thinking ahead of keeping people safe on the street. Definitely it's going to happen, but we have to get signs ASAP. We don't have to wait for the RCMP. We don't have to wait for no one. We have to get to have a limit on the speed in the island or not. If we don't have, then we have to pass a bylaw.
Bylaw, it lists where every sign goes and the speed limit on every road. So if we are going to put up a sign, we should be looking at that bylaw, because otherwise you can be challenged in court. The sign doesn't mean anything, doesn't have that legal standing. So we can look at that. I think we should look at our traffic bylaw, look at the current signage. That's a good step. We could invite residents to give us a little more information on the type of activity that's going on those streets. To me, it seems like, because there's a daycare that starts, you know, on that one end of Antoine, and then you've got a playground a little further on. Maybe the whole thing from really the manor down should be 30 kilometers until you get past the bulk plant. So that's not a bad idea. Just given that the street is very narrow and the ditches are deep, so people are walking on the road. They have no choice. If children are out there, cars are double parked on both sides. The whole thing is bad.
Yeah, well, Hampton Drive is a road, there's no sidewalks, there's no road in the ditch, that's all you have. So, it's, a welcome walking areas.
There used to be a sidewalk. I grew up on my road, there used to be a sidewalk on the west side of the road, and I'm pretty sure that road has always been very full of vision park. What's when I was out there?
So another possibility, right? I mean, they've got these deep ditches there. I don't know if that allows for the building of the
On
sidewalk.
the opposite side of the road, or the ditch, where the airport ships at, or still is remnants of the sidewalk there.
Right. And because you've got so many driveways too, the houses are fairly close together. Yes, Councilor Hassan.
Thank you again. You know, that road honestly is very active road with walking people. People walk on that street and like mothers, you always find mothers with their kids pushing a stroller and with the kids sometimes with pets. And and this is the summertime. So if we wait until we have to react very fast on this issue. Because this is the summer, and the summer is very short. I always, when I drive on that road, I see mothers walking with the stroller, with kids. I usually reduce the speed because not only the speed limit. If you are driving fast, also the gravel is gonna hit them, or you can get a chip on one of the kids or whatever. So it's really dangerous, honestly. It's really dangerous. So we have to react really fast. Thank you.
Well, perhaps if everyone's in agreement, we could bring it up at the next regular council meeting. Look at signage and the possibility of dropping the speed limit for a section of that road. But we'll consider our existing traffic bylaw, exactly what it is that's supposed to be there now. Get our staff to take a look at the area where signs would best be placed, and then come back with some recommendations, perhaps something we could do at the next regular council meeting, with the idea that in the future, perhaps some better walking sidewalk could be adapted. But I guess what Councilor Hassan is saying, that wouldn't happen right away, so we need to do something right away.
So we had discussed this a few years ago when it was done. And it was suggested at that time that we should put the speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour. I mean, the island is not that big, so I mean, it's gonna slow you down very little, a couple of minutes. But I've seen drivers fly back on the road, like more than 60 kilometers an hour, I'm sure. But you're going too fast and if your license or, see you anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it quite a few times.
Okay, I'll let Councilor Bellefontaine and Councilor first.
I was just gonna say, have you seen those, the signs that show you the speed you're driving, it tells you? Yeah, because I mean, we could have somebody go down and do it, but it's almost, when I used to be a rep, I could drive all the rare times to go to work. And there's some communities that you're on the highway and then the highway goes through a community, so you slow it down and they have those signs. And it's almost, oh yeah, like it's every time I went through there, I was very aware that there was this, you had to reduce your speed. And you feel like after you're on the highway, you feel like you've slowed down a lot. Like you're going to still speed, so you have to really slow it down. Maybe if we had access to something like that, I don't know if highways has something that we could maybe use, even just put out for a while to sort of remind people, or if it's something that.
Yeah, might be good to get one ourselves. So we
And
could-
if we looked at doing 30 on the whole island, then as people come in, we could almost have it there so that it's first in the city, before Simpson, now you're downtown, we want people driving slow.
There are in front of London store. We're more congested in some ways. And, you always assume that it's like at 8 o'clock at night when you drive down Main Street, it's pretty empty, right? 30 would seem very slow. Maybe you could look at the speed limit during the day, because it's busy, even on Main Street. So lots of things that, maybe let's, oh yes, I forgot.
One thing I have noticed since the COVID has happened, we have more traffic on the streets. I really noticed that because, like, everybody's working from home, and if they're at their offices, they can't. then we have the agreements for the lakes, you know, so I agree with it for Ken. And I know it's like every time I want to go really ignore them, like it's packed.
Mhm.
And, you know, and I really noticed that we have a lot more traffic on the roads these days than before COVID. I don't know if anybody else is noticed that. I was just like, So,
Well, that's a good idea. I mean, the 30 around town, it might be something that we see how people feel about that between now and next Monday too. Change traffic bylaw would take 3 readings anyway, so you can do a first, second, and then out to the public again to let them know. But it'd be nice to sort of poll them now and start seeing what people think. Councillor Simpson.
Those bylaws, or those sort of speed limits, those are, if somebody's breaking the speed limit, the RCMP can pull them over and give them a ticket, I think.
Yes.
So enforcement, those speed limits is really, maybe just talking to them and just explaining that there's these rules and claims. Here's Facebook, they're probably aware already, they're pretty savvy on Facebook stuff, I know that kind of people get out of the community, but talking to them first would be a really good start. And also the other thing is too, is that the quads they can be really dangerous. And we did in Alberta experience riders and stuff that died on quads and that, right? And so it is a pretty serious thing that people do have died. You know, I personally know people who died on quad accidents, right? So they're dangerous, you know, and they're heavy machines, and you get young people riding and whizzing around, and sure it's dangerous, but you know, the most potent deterrent probably that we have available right now is on the other side. Probably asking the RCMP to step up and just pay some extra attention there right now, and you know, just kind of nip that in the bud, you know, put lights around, and you know, let them know we're watching speed limit on that back road.
And that's something we can do like immediately. We can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just ask for a little bit of increased surveillance,
Yeah.
especially on Antoine Drive, just about the 30-kilometer, because of the school, the daycare, these kinds of things, right? And that'll give us a little breathing immediately.
Yeah, the other thing is that education. Maybe that's why the RCMP were referring to the bylaws. And some other communities have pretty well established bylaws that do regulate some of those parts of it. And it is a little unnerving when you see little guys riding these big machines that weigh like, you know, 400 pounds on the, you know, iron, and they're gunning and running and racing around, because I've seen before how, you know, the back tires go this way and it bumps and it can flip over. It's kind of scary, right? So that's yeah, that definitely.
I've seen the account.
And education, right? She'll teach them how dangerous it is. Some people haven't seen it, they don't know. But they need to be told, right, look, it can be really dangerous. It's a big heavy machine. You know, whatever flips on you, whatever lands on you, here's what can happen. You know, show them. I know there are those instructional videos because you know, where you can have a little education. And I don't know, is there some way to, you know, just to try to get to try to help those? Because it's a very efficient way of getting around. It's cheaper than driving the car, right? It's cheaper, so there's benefits to it. I've been in communities and there's just quads everywhere. Right? You go to our communities and it's quads, driving. People use them as their sole transportation, and that's kind of how it's here too. It's a little cheaper on gas, which is great. You know, there's some good points to it. But in order to make sure that being operated safely, both for the operator and for the people who are around, you know, there might be an extra education component to it. That maybe there's a at least something.
We will talk to the RCMP. We'll have some recommendations for Monday's meeting, regular meeting, regarding speed limit signs, maybe other things. We'll take a look at our existing bylaws, traffic bylaw, and anything to do with SKUs. I think we don't deal directly, we've never had any dealings with four-wheelers. But we'll take a look at maybe what other communities do, and if any of them are administering four-wheelers as well. Because like you said, there's a chance then to do some education to our our municipal staff and things like that. Okay, Councilor Belmonte?
Yeah, well, just maybe check with province too, because somebody mentioned that they have strict rules on it, because a really young, like a young child actually was on a quad and I guess some speeding fell off and was in a coma and they passed away, so. I mean, we always think, well, it's not a big issue here then until something happens, so maybe we can look at what has happened in other communities.
And even just raising awareness, that's important too. So I think that's a good idea. We'll invite the RCMP as well, so that way you can get the firsthand concerns from the whole council, but we'll try to notify them about the speeding down on right away. See if there's any increased surveillance that they could do down that way. Okay, any more thoughts on that, or we'll move on to the next one? All right, Tetzel Trail. I know that at the last meeting, we decided to go ahead with the chip sealing on that road. And I had met Dustin Dewar in the coffee shop, and I kind of told him that, yeah, we were going to be chip sealing his road and sending him the bill. So he came and saw me today, and he said, oh, yeah, no. We can't have you doing that. I couldn't allow him to do it that way, but he wants to work with us. And so they did have some plans already to do some drainage on that road. And he feels as though if the village were to go ahead and just do what our plans are this year, the chip seal would stay together. Because he said the road's all saturated and there's not enough drainage there now. Need to be fixed and given at least a year to set. But he's willing to work with the village to see what needs to be done, and talking to Ben, I think we're going to get our Stantec engineer to talk to Mr. Dewar about what type of work we foresee needing to be in place in order that the chip seal can go ahead. He couldn't commit to anything specifically, but he wanted us to know that he would be willing to work with us on that. And then the idea of maybe the transfer of the road could be talked about as well, especially if we wanted to start increasing the maintenance on the road. The highway sort of treats it as a very last priority thing in the winter, for example, the plowing. There's only 2 graders under the highways contract, and when all the grading is done on the highway, that's when they come in and they do the 4-mile access. Now, for our residents living along that road, that's not good enough. So the idea would be, if we want to increase services, the level of service to our own residents, I think that doesn't make sense. We should probably take over the road, but also be getting paid to maintain it through MACA funding increases. And so we got to be talking to not only highways, but municipal and community affairs about formula funding, what we could expect for increases, see how residents putting off the chip sealing on Tetzel Trail for now until we get further clarification. Yes, Councilor.
It's sad to hear shocking that you follow up with the letter. And also because there was an accident on that road right in front of my house. So Alan lost it and somebody else, there was a head-on collision. Because maybe they're coming around the corner too fast and the bumps, I'm not sure, this is about 3-4 years ago.
I remember.
Yeah, so, it's a safety. So. Yeah,
Definitely.
Let's make it formal.
Yeah, definitely, based on the, just sort of an informal discussion. They say he started in the coffee shop, but he did come to my office today, but even that's not the mayor's office, and we had this discussion. But I'd like to write down what was said, kind of say, okay, well, we will follow up on what, had initially been talked about, and we'll see where it goes. so we can keep reporting back here. And I think Ben is going to get our engineer to talk to highways, just to see exactly what their plan is, what our plan is, and perhaps, yeah, cost share. I mean, the word cost share was brought up, and, but, you know, he needed to talk to his ADM as well, and everything was just kind of sprung on him a little bit, I guess. But we'll see where that goes, and hopefully by even Monday, we might have a little more information on that for everybody. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but we couldn't, you know, do Tetzel Trail, but it's looking to me like it might be more difficult. Probably our best route might be to just work with the department, see where that goes first.
As long as they don't take too long.
Yeah,
Don't take the budget out yet.
we need some solid movement there and a direction to go down. But if that's news, I guess, and we'll report back as quick as we hear more on Tetzel Trail.
Seems, we're hoping to, you know, make improvements, and hopefully they can put in an effort to help things go away. This is a municipal council that's acting in the best interest of all the people in the community. And then we're talking about safety issue. People are regularly using it. It's a major lot of traffic there. So maybe you just have to, like you said, write a letter and basically explain to them that there was a law about that, you know, we fairly committed to the idea. Like, you know, try to move this forward, maybe they just being a little bit, you know, they might just be, you know, it's easy for them to say, wait, you know, that's not in our plans this year or whatever. But, well, maybe the priorities are just different for this councils. And that's, I don't know, right? But we can, you know, just lean on what that impression too. That's
know.
the nice thing.
When they say something is an access road, I mean, there's a lot of access roads. There's Fort Simpson access road, and that's like a highway. That comes from Wrigley down here. You've got things like that Willow River, they call that a bit of an access road that, you know, they occasionally send a grader down there just to, because they know people living there. And then you've got an in-between kind of case where they occasionally run a grader down, but it looks more like a regular highway down to 4 Mile. And they've spent money there before, on bridges and things like that. I think we don't want to rush into, say, like transferring the road without adequate assurances we're going to get enough funding to take care of it. Mr. Dewar did ask what the council's idea on taking over the road would be. And I just simply said, well, I don't think that the council would be against taking over the road if we were properly funded to maintain it. And that would be more than putting a grader on it once every 2 months as our last priority. So those kind of discussions would have to happen. And I don't know, I also asked if, well, in the meantime, if we were able to get this road up to chip sealable condition, could we get permission from your department pending perhaps transfer in the future to chip seal the road in the interest of giving better road quality to our residents? And he seemed to think that wasn't going to work, but again, he hasn't been in contact directly with his ADM. And the letter I'm going to write is going to be to him, but also to his ADM minister, because it's really been a long-standing issue. We can go back to why are we paying for the power poles on that access road all the way down to 4 Mile? That's part of it. I mean, if we're not allowed to chip seal that road, why are we allowed to put streetlights up and pay for it? Right? So we'll ask the questions and we'll wait for the answers, and hopefully it'll be fairly quick. Okay. Well, if that's everything on that one, any more? Okay. Number 8, correspondence. We do have a letter from the Fort Simpson Garden Society asking if we have any problems with their hosting a workshop in the near future. When is this to be held? So in the near future, and I just think if anybody, the council, has an issue with this, then we should let them know, otherwise we just say no, we don't have a problem. To me, it's people coming in from Yellowknife, so there's no restrictions about that. They're saying they're going to be careful in Indian, because of the grouping of people together in the workshop setting. As long as they're following those kinds of rules and they seem to know what they're doing, I'd say that there's no issue there. Does anybody have any concerns with that? Because otherwise we can let them know that we didn't have any concerns. Okay, well, let's leave that as is. Now, we're gonna have to turn that camera off because we're gonna be going in camera, but just wait, we'll vote to go in camera. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to go in camera. Okay, Councilor Morrow, move, seconder. Okay, I'll put Councilor Lafferty. The council goes in camera at, I'll say 7:45, 1 minute, to discuss a land issue regarding Mark Gillinger. Okay, just do a little roll call here. Councilor Lafferty.
Yes.
Councilor McPherson.
Yes.
Okay. Councilor Simpson. Okay. And Councilor Bellefontaine. Yes. Councilor Morrow. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right, so we should